You started learning kicks and you've been training for a little while, but now you're looking to learn how to master your kicks. Over the 15 years that I've been training, I've narrowed down the 6 aspects it takes in order to perfect your kick, which I'm gonna share with you on this video. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so the first thing we're gonna talk about when it comes to mastering kicks is balance. Without balance, you're not gonna be able to kick or do anything standing on one leg. So how do we practice balance? A great simple way is just being able to get into a fighting stance, picking one leg up and just holding it. Being able to spot one thing in front of you, staring at it, squeezing your core muscles, pivoting your foot, bring that knee up as high as you can, and just holding this position. We gotta make sure that without our core muscles, without our eyesight engaged, the balance won't be able to happen efficiently. If my leg is locked out, I'll be a little wobbly in the stance, and so it's also gonna be a little less efficient. So when we're doing the balance aspect, we wanna make sure, again, that back leg comes up, bottom foot is pivoted, core is tight, eyes are forward, and we're holding this position to the best of our ability. Again, without balance, nothing that you're gonna learn from here on after will even matter, because you can't hold the kick in order to do it. So now we're moving on to the second aspect of a kick and perfecting your kick, which is chambering. Chambering in this situation is any type of ready positioning for a specific type of kick. And for each kick, it's a little bit different. Whether it be a front kick, whether it be a side kick, a roundhouse kick, each kick has a distinct readying position before the extension, before the contact is actually made. Now, when it comes to sparring, you wanna be able to have this ability to be able to chamber and to quickly extend the leg out to the best of your ability. But also, when it comes to sparring, you wanna be able to hide and disguise your kicks so that the other opponent doesn't know what you're gonna do. Meaning, if I wanna throw a front kick or a side kick, I don't want them to know what I'm gonna do. And so for me, I treat all my kicks the same way. All of them start coming up like a front kick. They all bend in this specific way. Then from here, I can transition to a specific kick afterwards. However, when it comes to sparring, if everything looks the same, they don't know what kick I'm gonna throw until it already happens. And so let's talk about the different type of chambers each kick has. For instance, the back leg is gonna come up, and it's nice and simple. The knee is up, I extend out, I bring it back in, that's your front kick. For a side kick, the leg comes up. From here, my knee is gonna roll to the front of my body, my foot's gonna pivot backwards. Then from here, I'm hitting with the bottom of my foot, extending with the heel, bringing it back in. Roundhouse kick. Again, the approaches are the same. My foot comes up, my foot pulls behind my body as I pivot, and then I extend, hitting with the top of my foot. Now, these are very technical aspects to chambering and kicking, and so don't put too much thought into if I'm doing it right, if I'm not doing it right. The main goal of understanding right now is chamber is a really crucial aspect when it comes to kick. If you start throwing straight leg kicks, nothing's gonna come out the way you want it to, it's not gonna be effective, and it won't look good all the way around. So, chambering is the second most important thing when it comes to a kick. So the next aspect we're gonna talk about when perfecting your kick is hip engagement. Now, this tend to be the most popular thing people miss out on when it comes to throwing or delivering a kick. So what is hip engagement? Hip engagement is applying the flexibility within your hips in the direction of your kick in order to create the maximum amount of damage or power possible for that specific kick. So for example, if I'm throwing a front kick, without my hip engaged, the target's directly in front of me, yes, but there's no penetration aspect when it comes to my kick. So just some more extension of my hip allows the penetration to be greater, but also the power to go further into my target. So let's see what it looks like with a little bit more hip engagement. Instead of my hip staying back where it is, I'm pushing it forward to increase the damage within my kick. Of course, with great power comes great responsibility, and it's the hip's responsibility to create the power. Let's move on to the next part. So now we're getting to the fun, interesting aspects of the kick, in which the next part is gonna be accuracy. Now that we know how to balance, now that we know how to chamber our foot for specific kicks, but also know how to engage our hip when throwing the kicks, now we can work on accuracy. being able to pinpoint a location in which we want our kicks to land without any deviation. So in this case, I brought the bag out because it has nice little letters on the front in which you can practice accuracy. So when we're doing accurate movements, we want to make sure that wherever I want my kick to land, it goes there. In sparring cases, I want to be able to know if my kick's going to go towards the legs, the ribs, or the head height. And so a great drill to practice is just being able to, again, pinpoint where you want your kick to go. If you have a bag like this, it's great because you have the letters that you can just play a little game with. Let's, for example, say I'm playing with a roundhouse kick. If I'm doing roundhouse kick, I want to aim for not only the C, but the E, and so on and so forth. Being able to hit every letter without any deviation. And of course, you can practice this from a standing position of just applying each letter, but also from a back leg or front leg perspective. If I'm just practicing regular kicks, I want to be able to hit whatever lever I want. If I want to go for the Y, I hit the Y. If I go for the R, I go for the R. Again, your goal is not to deviate from what you're aiming for. So if I'm aiming for, let's say, the N, and I hit the E, your accuracy is not as good as you think it is, so we gotta improve it. Or if you're aiming for the U and you hit the Y, even though it's higher, it doesn't mean it's more accurate. So we wanna make sure we hit exactly where we want so that if you are sparring, if you are trying to have a quote unquote perfect kick, you gotta make sure you have the accuracy to match it. So play around with accuracy. Play around rather hitting one target, several targets, in a specific point that allows you to master your accuracy when it comes to your kicks. Now it comes to the fancy aspect of perfecting your kick. The next aspect is speed. How do you get from point A to point B as quickly as possible? And so when it comes to speed, that's my only goal. How can I get from one point to another? How do I get my foot from the floor to my intended target as fast as possible? A couple great drills to do is just being able to have the reflex of picking up your knee. Being able to stand still and just being able to get your knee up in the air will definitely increase your speed of your kick, because believe it or not, it's not how fast your foot can come up off the ground that determines your speed. It's how fast can you get to the readying position of your kick that determines how fast your kick is. Why? Because the extension, the actual snapping of your kick is easy. It's simple. It's super quick. It's like half a millisecond. But picking your knee up is what delays the process. So your ability to get your knee up determines how fast your kick will be. For example, I can bring my leg up and the snap is very quick, but it took a long time. Versus my knee up quick, I'm already at my point 10 times faster than I was. So when you're working with your kicks, think about picking your chamber, getting your knee up as fast as possible, and then throwing your kick. Keep in mind, this also applies to sparring as well, because the speed at which you can throw your kick determines how fast your opponent can, well, dodge, duck, or protect themselves. So if you mix that with the different variations of chambers you have, your kicks are unstoppable. Because I can pick my leg up here as fast as possible, and they think it's a front kick, but if I change it to a roundhouse kick, the game becomes a little bit more difficult for them to block or deviate. So practice getting your knee engaged, getting your chamber position ready to fire for throwing your kick. That's how you increase your speed when it comes to perfecting your kick. Let's work on it. So now we're getting to the fancy aspect of perfecting your kick. The next aspect we're going to talk about is timing. Now, in order to understand timing, you got to figure out how to master the past couple aspects we talk about, such as accuracy and speed, knowing how fast you can get somewhere and knowing if you can hit that spot precisely. Reason why is because when we're working with timing, working with the person, working with the target, working with anything that we're aiming for, we need to know where we're trying to hit and how fast we can get there and the window of opportunity we have to actually get there. Now, how do we do that? How do we even think about timing? What is timing? What is it? Well, timing is figuring out first what your rhythm is. Everything has a rhythm. Rather you be bouncing your feet, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Your footwork has a timing. Or it can be your combination when you're throwing punches. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Everything has a timing. Now, if I had to adjust that timing, what if I, instead of 1, 2, 3, I take a break at 3, what if I throw a kick after that? 1, 2, 3, kick. Now I have a different timing. But also, what if I wanted to move the kick up faster? What if I didn't want to wait till after 3, after I take a break? What if I wanted to do it at 3? So from here, it's 1, 2, 3, now I throw the kick. That's a different timing. And so that allows you to figure out what the rhythm is and what the timing of things are when it comes to your body. Now, when it comes to someone else's, remember your opponent has their own timing as well. And so that timing can be their footwork, that timing can be their strikes, that time it can also be their defense. If they're playing around 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, if you see that they throw the hand up and this open area of opportunity comes out every now and then, well, that's the timing of their defense. How quickly can you get to this point and what window of opportunity of time do you have in order to hit that spot? So this is where we need to figure out our accuracy. Can we get to that spot and hit it directly? Or if I'm gonna hit the shoulder? Seeing that within this 1, 2, 1 second that I have, can I get my foot there in time before they come back down? That's timing. And so it's great to play around with this just with your combinations to figure out pa, 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 different timings or different rhythms, pa, 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 of your kick, of yourself, of your sparring partner, and of your, well, target sparring. Perfect your timing, practice it, work with it, practice with somebody else, practice on a bag. Do what you can to try to, well, increase your knowledge of timing, because it's not something you can just practice and get. You gotta just know how to understand it, how to figure out on the dime how it works when it comes to you or the person in front of you. All right, we're on the last aspect of perfecting your kick. And the last aspect is power. Now, we mentioned this earlier when it came into hip engagement, but now we're focusing completely on how to generate power and what power is. First things first, I need you guys to understand there's a reason why I put power last. Power takes a lot of energy. It's exhausting, it wears you out, and it breaks you down as much as possible. And so if you didn't understand everything that we talked about before, and you start throwing kicks with a lot of power, or simply you don't know how to throw power, then you're wasting energy. You're wasting components of your, well, full capacity that you don't necessarily need to do unless you're doing it with a purpose. Whether it be sparring, whether it be just practicing good kicks, whatever it may be, power comes last. Because if you don't have accuracy, if you can't generate speed, if you can't engage your hips, power was not gonna be applicable, but also is gonna be useless. What is power? Power is the amount of damage, the amount of speed I can create to create damage or penetration for my target or the opponent. We talked about it earlier. Hip engagement is gonna be a crucial aspect to power. It's gonna be a big part of it. If your hips aren't engaged, there is no power because you're missing the entire upper half of your body in order to throw the kick. On the second half of that, if you don't have the speed, if you don't have the technique in order to throw the kick, even if you throw power, the damage won't be done because it's improper and it's not hitting the points of the body or the target that you want it to, or you're not hitting with the proper part of your leg that you need it to. So when it comes to power, we want to make sure that we're A, focusing on the chamber, and also B, working on the hip engagement. Whether it be with a front kick, whether it be with a roundhouse kick, whether it be with a side kick, turning side kick, you gotta have the things we talked about above in order to actually make it work. And power is gonna be super fun to actually throw hard kicks if you understand everything we talked about before. So work on your power, work on generating speed and damage into your target in order to perfect your kick. Again, whether you're on a target, whether you're facing an opponent, or you're just practicing getting your leg out there. How quickly can you do it? With how much accuracy can you do it? With how much destructive power can you create in the process? This, and a lot of other aspects that we mentioned before, is how you perfect your kicks. Whether it be at the target, whether it be with Bob, whether it be just you practicing to make it look pretty. Without those things, your kicks are either gonna be useless, not effective, or simply just not a kick at all. So practice this, work on this. Figure out what it takes for you to perfect your kick and then share it with me. I would love to see your journey, love to see your progression as you go along through it. Sparring wise, practicing on target wise, just want to look pretty wise, share it with me. I'd love to see it. Now, pin this video, guys. Of course, if you like this video, hit the like button below. It doesn't hurt you. Just a nice, good click of the button. But also subscribe to the channel if you like videos like this, so you can see exactly when the next video comes out that I make, and you get notified when it does, so you can see exactly more videos that I make for individuals like you. Last but not least, if you know someone who's working on their kicks, just working on their fitness, working on their journey overall, share this with them. Allow them to join the hybrid family. Allow them to engage with what I'm doing here right now. Allow them to see exactly what they can do, what possibilities they can open just by learning the basic things such as this today. And so if that's someone that you know, please share this video with them. But other than that, guys, I will see you on the next one. Peace.